Have you ever had your baby wake up in the middle of the night, be up for a few hours, want to play, and then go back to sleep for the rest of the night? This has happened a couple times with my baby in the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to tell you why it happens and what you can do about it. Hi, my name is Dr. Kate Purvis. I'm a naturopathic doctor, international board-certified lactation consultant, and holistic sleep coach. I'm also the mom of two amazing boys, both of who kind of struggle with sleep. I work with new moms and their babies to help the whole family thrive. So as I mentioned, a split night is when somebody wakes up in the middle of the night, they're up for a few hours, and then they sleep for the rest of the night. Now, when this happens with a baby and young child, they're usually very happy to be awake. They want to play, they want to hang out, chat. It can be super frustrating for parents. Interestingly, this is how we used to sleep. Prior to about the late 17th century, we used to have first sleep and second sleep with a couple of hours in between. Now we don't really do that, so it's frustrating and can be very challenging when this happens. So why does a split night happen? Well, a split night usually happens when sleep pressure hasn't built up enough to both initiate and maintain a child's sleep. So what is sleep pressure? Sleep pressure is a homeostatic function regulated by the amount of adenosine in our brain. It has nothing to do with our circadian rhythm. Rather, the longer that we're awake, the more adenosine builds up in our brain. And that tells us to both initiate and maintain sleep. So newborns, very young babies, their adenosine, their sleep pressure builds up fairly quickly, right? They can only be awake for a short interval before they need to go back to sleep. Babies, young children, that awake interval is much longer. So the first time this happened with my baby a few weeks ago, it was pretty straightforward. We had kind of a crazy day. He took a very late and a very short nap. Because his nap was so short, he was so cranky in the evening, and we decided to move bedtime forward, which was a huge mistake. Because that nap was so late and we moved bedtime forward, there wasn't enough time between the end of that nap and bedtime for the sleep pressure to build up to maintain sleep. So while he fell asleep fine, he was up a few hours later, ready to play. Now that was kind of a one-off scenario. The next day, we went back to our normal routine and that self-corrected. But then the split night started happening again. So the very first thing that I'm doing now that my baby is having split nights again, and the cause is not super obvious, is I'm looking at his overall hours of sleep. Now you see this chart here. These are simply averages. And you know what? A lot of kids, a lot of babies do not fall within these windows. For example, my first child was a very low sleep needs baby. He was outside of these ranges his entire young childhood. He still is. My current baby is a higher sleep needs baby, so he's been on the higher end of these ranges. But I do need to revisit his total number of sleep and make sure that he's not getting too much. We're not trying to force too much sleep on him. Another issue that I see commonly lead to these split nights is similar to this. And that is when parents try to fit their babies and young children into these schedules that you see on the internet. Into these schedules with very specific wake windows between naps, wake windows between naps and bedtime. Wake windows are not evidence-based. They are simply based on people's experience. And because of that, there are many babies and young children that do not fit into those schedules. So if you are trying to fit your baby into these very specific schedules and they're having sleep disturbances like split nights, start to follow your child and their own tired cues instead of the schedule. Then look at the timings of naps and bedtimes. As I mentioned, there's often not enough time between that last nap and bedtime for the sleep pressure to build up. So things to look at when you're looking at the timing. Is your baby getting ready to drop a nap? Does their nap need to move up just a little bit? Do you need to actually cap that last nap of the day? I hate telling parents to wake their babies, but sometimes we just need that extra 15, 20 minutes or so for that sleep pressure to build up before bedtime. Are you trying to get your baby to go to sleep too early? Now, I'm wondering if this is what we're doing with my little one. We have this idea that babies need to go to sleep at 7 p.m. They need to sleep 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And that's just really not super accurate. Many babies do not sleep 12 hours at night, and so bedtime can be a little bit later. So with my baby, I'm wondering if we need to push bedtime back a little bit to allow that sleep pressure to build up. And finally, we often force longer naps on our babies. And I get it. I love nap time too. It's where I get things done. It's where I get some work done. But sometimes we kind of force our baby into another sleep cycle, and maybe they don't actually need that sleep cycle. Maybe that's hindering our bedtime and the amount of sleep pressure that's being allowed to build up before bed. Split nights are tough. Believe me, lived through a couple of them lately. But usually, working on the timing of naps and bedtime can be enough to fix the sleep disturbance. Are you looking for more tips to optimize your baby's sleep? Check out my free Quick Wins for Infant Sleep Guide and my sleep guides by age.